Welcome back. All right, so 9 games on the schedule tonight. If you're looking for the review of the first 2, video's already done, already posted to the channel. The matinee games I separate out from the evening games because the night gets late enough on Saturday as it is. So after this, there's the power rankings, and then I have to do tomorrow's preview tonight, which posts in the morning on the channel. So fun. Let us start. Carolina in against New Jersey. I'm wearing Devils. It's LaFontaine versus Gillies. I honestly came out of this one feeling kind of bad for LaFontaine. It just felt like Carolina's heart wasn't really in this one tonight, that they gave everything they had last night in the game against the Rangers. It's kind of like when Winnipeg had the great game in Edmonton, and then they came into Vancouver and just laid an egg. So first minute, the Canes had a 2-on-1. Chances saved there by Gillies. But Svechnikov scores from Trocheck at 2:20. Gillies didn't think that was going to be shot. Svechnikov caught him napping a bit. So the Canes look for another, and they get it. It's Ian Cole from Natchez and Svechnikov at 5:44. And it's 2-0. 5:44 into the first period. No reason to think that the Devils are going to be in this one. And right away I thought, well, so much for that upset that I thought we might get tonight. VC then had a net drive that was blocked. Trocheck nearly gets one to the net. Hughes goes beast mode, but the Canes cleared it out there. But then it's Bastian with a one that he swatted out of the air. He puts the Devils on the board from Graves and Kuokkanen at 17:26. And then it's Nathan Bastian again. He scores from Graves and McLeod at 19:06. I don't think the Devils wanted to lose him in the expansion draft, and I think they're quite happy to have him back in the lineup now that Seattle waived him and let him go back. So second period, the Devils had a 3-on-2. LaFontaine with a save there. Janssen has a chance that's saved. I'm saying Janssen because I'm watching the New Jersey feed and they were saying Janssen, so all right, Janssen it is. Levo, though, would put Carolina back in the lead from D'Angelo at 3:27. It was a rush chance. It was a great shot by Levo. You're welcome from the Canucks. Actually, he's gone through the Flames now. Levo's kind of had a tour. At some point in time, there'll be a journeyman video on Josh Levo's career. Natchez was denied. The Canes had the momentum, though. The Devils then get a power play. That was unsuccessful. The Devils, though, press after it's done. And McLeod would score from Janssen and Subban at 8:48. So that ties the game at 3. And then Janssen puts them ahead from Mercer and Zacha at 11:16. And it's just bonkers. This game was absolutely bonkers. Canes get a power play. That was killed off. But after it's done, Brady Shea scores from Stepan and Levo at 15:34. Yeah, the Devils, they restore the lead before the period's out as Jesper Bratt scoring from Sharon Govich and Graves at 18:19. So Graves with a big game when it comes to assists. I put that up there, and I didn't put who scored it because at that time there were a bunch of goals going on in a bunch of games. So I just put the New Jersey logo up with the idea that I'll come back to it. It was scored at 18:19. I'll come back to it. And just now I'm putting up who scored it. So we go to the third period. Sharon Govich was denied, but the shots are 4-2 New Jersey at 3.5 minutes. And again, it just felt like the Canes, their hearts weren't really in it. Gillies denies Stahl on a turnover. Devils get a power play, and they score on it. It's Jack Hughes scoring from Severson and Heischer at 12:51. It makes it 6-4. And then Zacha adds one from Mercer and Janssen at 13:55. So Janssen with a beast of a day. Zacha, some of these players for New Jersey had kind of been, on cold streaks. So this could be a really big game for New Jersey. They win at 7-4. They go to 15-19-5 with the win. Carolina drops to 27-9-2 with the loss. 3 stars are Bastian, Janssen, and Graves. The shots, 13-10 New Jersey in the first, 11-8 New Jersey in the second. Both teams had 14 shots in the third. The final shots, 38-32 for New Jersey. Power plays, Carolina just had 1. Didn't score on it. New Jersey won for 3. The hits, 35-31 for New Jersey. They outshot them. They outhit them. LaFontaine, 31 saves on 38 shots. Gillies, 28 saves on 32 shots. And so New Jersey also had the better goaltending, too, between the two. But, again, this was a different Carolina team. And I would expect them to bounce back in their next game. But, speaking of bounce backs, how about the Rangers? So, we go into that game between the Rangers and Carolina last night. It's a battle for first place, and Carolina wins it. And coming out of tonight, well, Carolina loses and the Rangers win. So it's all the same. It's Vejmelka versus Shesterkin in this one. Early control for the Coyotes. Kessel has a net drive that wouldn't go, but then O'Brien opens the scoring for Arizona. He scores from Eriksson and Gostisbehere at 2:29. To their credit, the Rangers come back and score to tie it. It's Trouba from Zibanejad and Kreider at 3:15. We get back and forth chances after. 6.5 minutes into the first period, the shots are actually 8-1 in favor of the Arizona Coyotes. And then Ladd scores on their 9th shot from Fisher and Nash at 6:56. The Coyotes then get a power play, so this could get ugly, right? But we end up with 4-on-4 for 1 minute and 5 seconds. Everything gets killed off during that part of the game. The Coyotes were dominating in both shots and chances in the first period. And it was the 7th time in the season that Arizona has led after the first period. That's it. They don't usually lead after the first. Second period, Lafreniere with a rush chance. He fires wide. Early press by the Rangers. Kreider's shot was blocked. And the Rangers, 5 minutes into the period, had no shots. They had zone time, though. And they were getting opportunities, just nothing at the net. And then Keller widens the lead. He scores from Schmaltz at 7:03. This is where the Rangers wake up. The Rangers try to answer. The Coyotes press at the half. They get a power play. During the power play, momentum swing. Shorthanded goal by Chris Kreider from Trouba at 11 minutes and 30 seconds. And then it starts. Gauthier scores from Hunt and Rooney at 15:26. We get some scrummy stuff taking place after that. The Rangers come out with a power play. Fox draws the power play there. And he participates in the power play goal, scored by Panarin at 16:33 from Fox and Zibanejad, and suddenly the Rangers have a lead. And then Kreider adds one at 18:42, and suddenly let the good times roll in Madison Square Garden. Third period, Trouba scores early from Miller and Strome at 1:33. The shots 4 minutes into this period were 5-1 Rangers. They were not leaving any doubt in this game. You can't lose at home against Arizona, is basically the lesson here. Coyotes get a power play, unsuccessful. The Rangers get a power play, and they score on it. This has to have been a power play goal. Kreider from Fox and Panarin at 10:06. That's the hat trick goal for Kreider, so hats all over the ice. The Rangers get a power play, unsuccessful. Coyotes get a power play after that, also unsuccessful. And that's 6 straight goals for the New York Rangers. They win this one 7-3. They go to 27-11-4. Arizona drops to 10-26-4. Your 3 stars are Kreider, Trouba, and Panarin. Shots 16-4 Arizona in the first, 12-7 New York Rangers in the second, 11-6 New York Rangers in the third. Final shots 29-27 for Arizona. Power plays, Arizona 0 for 5, the Rangers 2 for 4. Hits 24-16 for the Rangers. Vejmelka didn't last. 14 saves on 20 shots. Wedgwood saves 6 out of 7. Shesterkin, 26 saves on 29 shots for him. Not Shesterkin type numbers, but again, he allows a couple of goals, and then he decides that's about enough. So, yeah, pretty nice night for Shesterkin as well. All right, next up, Ottawa. The Senators almost played spoiler tonight. They got close. So, it's Murray versus Vanacek, and very early in the game, Chabot scores. He gets a goal from Watson and Paul at 1:22, and it's a screenshot. It's also the first shot on net. Makes you think, well, maybe we're going to see a high-scoring game. That would be incorrect. We also didn't see very many shots. This was a game that just didn't feature shots. Schultz has a shot that's blocked. The Caps would press, but 9 minutes into this, the shots are 3-0 for the Sens. And it stayed that way for a while. Power play for the Senators, unsuccessful. Didn't get a shot. Late power play for the Caps. And that's where the Capitals finally get some shots, and Murray makes some saves. We go to the second period. 1-0 for Ottawa so far. Early press by the Caps. In fact, 4 minutes into the period, the shots are 5-1 in favor of Washington. But Sanford widens the lead to 2-0. He scores from Formenton at 6:07. Sanford then on his next shift, he ends up hitting the post. Momentum with the Senators after the goal. The Caps press with 6 minutes left. Stützle has a rush chance that's saved for Ottawa. So again, Ottawa has to be really happy at this point with this road game. Power play for the Caps. There's a shorthanded rush chance for Formenton. That deflects out. Norris with a net drive. He loses the handle on that. And the fans were kind of restless at the final minute. I mean, you can just imagine. You're home. You're against Ottawa. Your team's been struggling a bit. And this should be 2 points. And it's starting to look like it's not going to be. So third period, the Caps press early and Ovechkin. Ovechkin scores goal number 758. He roofed it from Van Riemsdyk and Kuznetsov at 139. So Ovechkin starts things rolling here. Sens then at a point shot that deflects. It's saved. Kuznetsov has a net drive that wouldn't go. The Caps press at 5 minutes into the period. Senators get a power play. That's killed off. And then at 9:43, goal number 759 for Ovechkin from Backstrom, and it's a fantastic goal. Ovechkin and Backstrom back together, and there you go. It's 2-2. Ovechkin then has a rush chance that deflects out. Van Riemsdyk has a chance that's saved, and the Caps are pressing. But we go to overtime. The overtime, the Sens control on the faceoff. Batherson fires one high. And that's why, like, I've seen the complaints about how players don't take the shot, that, you know, they rag the puck and they take their time. That's why. Batherson takes that shot there, it misses the net, and immediately gives the pucks to the Caps, as well as some momentum. So Kuznetsov can't bury one. The Caps then had a rush that goes offside. On the face-off after that, Ovechkin has a shot saved. Ottawa gets the puck, but they turn it over to Backstrom, who buries it at 1:13 into overtime. And so the winner, Washington Capitals in OT, they go to 23-10-9. For the Senators, they drop to 11-20-3. 3 stars are Ovechkin, Backstrom, and Shabbat. Shots were 5-3 for Washington in the first. 16-10 Washington in the second, 10-9 Washington in the third, and they had both shots in overtime. Final shots 33-22 for Washington. Both teams go 0 for 2 on the power play. The hits were 33-26 for Washington. Murray saves 30 out of 33. Vanacek saves 20 out of 22. Both goalies the same save percentage. So yeah, there you go. They saved 10 out of each 11 shots that they faced. So for the Sens, missed out on a chance to get 2 points. The Capitals did not. All right, next up. Montreal in against the Colorado Avalanche. Alakazam, the score's up there. All right, it's just one of those things where on a Saturday I can get kind of behind on things, and I'm kind of like, okay, now I can get this board put aside, and I didn't have the score up there. But anyways, it's Primo versus Kemper in this one. Caden Primo got a lot of shots tonight. I don't think he qualifies as a rookie because a lot of shots. In Colorado, they're a team that has some pretty potent attack. So Primo versus Kemper, there's too many Avs on the ice early, which means the Habs get a power play. There's a shorthanded chance for Comfer. That was saved. The Avs kill it off. Shots are 4-3 though for Montreal 5 minutes in. So they're doing pretty well to start off in Colorado, where they haven't lost a game at home since, I think it's like, I don't know, 2014. It just feels like it. The Avs get a power play and they score on it because of course they do. Newhook scores from Girard and Taves at 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And then Aubé-Kubel almost added another one right after. So this is where if you're a Montreal fan, you might have been like, is the Australian Open on yet? No. So, Avs get another power play. Makar is a blast that's blocked. Taves was denied, and that power play ends. Last minute, Toffoli tips one wide. Pitlick then had a chance that was saved in closing seconds. I've said it before. Rem Pitlick looks pretty good in Montreal. I'm still kind of surprised that he bounces around the league a bit here. Second period, Aubé-Kubel has a chance that's kicked out. There's a net pass to Toffoli that wouldn't go. Shots are even 6.5 minutes into this period. 4 apiece. So again, Montreal behind 1-0, but it's not an overwhelming deficit that they're looking at. The Avs get a power play though, and they score on it, and it's Nichushkin that gets the goal at 8:57. Girard then has a net drive that was defended. Comfer with a rush chance, he was denied, so Colorado's trying to pour it on. But Lehkonen at 18:17, so late in the period, scores from Suzuki and Toffoli, and it's 2-1 for Colorado after 2 periods. Third period, Eric Johnson has a chance that's saved. Hoffman then with a break. He mishandles on that, so might have been able to bury it, but he mishandled it. The Avs score, but it's challenged for offside, so it's an offside. Petrie was down. He was clipped. The Habs get a power play. The interesting thing is Kadri gets 4 minutes for the high stick that draws an injury, but Petrie gets 2 minutes for interference on the play, which I got it. Like when I looked at the replay, the announcers didn't get it, but I was like, no, yeah, that makes some sense. Makes some sense to give Petrie the interference penalty there too. So during that power play, which was just 2 minutes instead of 4, Suzuki scores from Dvorak and Hoffman at 8:06. That ties the game at 2. So Montreal continues to do a pretty good job of playing spoiler. The Avs then get a power play. There's a shorthanded chance for Suzuki, who is a beast today. It's killed off. Habs press with 6.5 minutes left. Newhook then had a rush chance that was saved. Rantanen was denied. Rush chances both ways in the final minute and a half, but we go to overtime. In overtime, the Habs control early. McKinnon with a rush chance that saved. Kadri can't find it. Primo saves on that. But then Landeskog scores from Nichushkin and Taves at 1:16. So it's Colorado. 3-on-3, they're just deadly. They win this one 3-2 in overtime. They go to 28-8-3. For the Habs, they're 8-25-7 with the overtime loss. So your shots are, or your 3 stars are Landeskog, Girard, and Primo. The shots were 23-12 Montreal in the first, 23-12 Colorado in the first, showing that Primo was under siege the whole period. 11-10 Colorado in the second, 9-8 Colorado in the third. In the overtime, Colorado had all 3 shots. Final shots 46-30 for the Colorado Avalanche. Power plays, Montreal 1 for 2, Colorado 2 for 4. Hits 32-24 for Montreal. Primo saves 43 out of 46. Probably his best performance of the season. And Kemper saves 28 out of 30. His numbers are getting better. That being said, I now need to change boards. Just going to say, too, before I get into the next one, that is a rabbit right there. That is one of the brown rabbits. Got himself up the tree and sleeping right there. So just in case anybody asks, what is that on the tree? It's a rabbit. All right, Toronto Maple Leafs in against New York Islanders. Toronto played an Islanders game tonight. They did. This was a game that it really felt like an Islanders game, and Toronto took it to them. So it's Mrazek versus Varlamov. They had a nice tribute to Clark Gillies. I haven't mentioned Clark Gillies. There will be a Clark Gillies video roughly a month down the road here. But yeah, Clark Gillies' passing has clearly touched a lot of people in the hockey world. It was mentioned as well before the Rangers game and during the Rangers game. So very well-known player. When I started watching hockey, the Islanders were already in the midst of their dynasty, and Gillies was a huge part of it. Leafs get a first-minute chance. Bunting has a chance to save. The Leafs end up getting a power play. Cizikas gloves the puck down the ice, which was a nice play because he didn't have a stick. Killed off, but the Leafs then get another. That one was killed too, and it only allowed 1 shot. So the Islanders taking some penalties there early. Those are the only 2 power plays Toronto had in the entire game. So the Islanders, they get through that part. Marner to Matthews, Chara defends on that. The Islanders were stuck on 2 shots. And then they get a power play. There's a chance to get some shots. What actually happens is a shorthanded goal for Mitch Marner from Riley at 13:25. We then get more aggressive penalty kill work after that, and they kill it off. But Parise at 19 minutes, he scores from Mayfield at 19 minutes. That's only his 2nd goal of the season. I know Islander fans would like to see Parise get things going. Pretty sure Lamorella would like to as well. Clutterbuck then with a break. Mrazek saves, which is important because then with 0.4 seconds left in the period at 19:59, Engvall puts it in the net. And honestly, it looked like he'd held on to it maybe a little too long and maybe wasn't going to go in, but it did. It goes in and it's 0.4 seconds left. So nice play, and it's 2-1 Toronto after 1. Second period. Teams were trading rush chances, but the shots are 5-1 for the Leafs at 6 minutes. Marner had a shot blocked as the Leafs press. Brody can't bury one, but then during that same shift, Morgan Riley on what was a fantastic pass by Nylander. Kerfoot with the secondary assist at 9:42. That makes it 3-1 for Toronto. Islanders get a power play. It's unsuccessful. Leafs press with 2 minutes left. Pelech defends a rush by the Leafs as well, but it's 3-1 entering the third. Third period, Mrazek gloves a sky shot from Mayfield. It's one of those ones that goes way up, and honestly, that can cause havoc if it drops right in the middle of the players in front of the net. Engvall then had a rush chance that was saved. The Islanders get a power play. It's killed off. With 5 minutes left, the Leafs are pressuring. So the goalie gets pulled, and the timeout is taken with 1:33 left. So the goalie was pulled first. There's a face-off. Timeout's called by the Islanders with 1:33 left. Dobson had a shot that hits the screen in front, and his next chance was saved. So Toronto wins this one 3-1. And they made it look not that difficult, and I thought Mrazek had a good third period as well. So they go to 25-10-3 with the win. The Islanders drop back to 500, 14-14-6. Tough result for the Islanders. 3 stars are Riley, Marner, and Parise. The shots, 9-7 Toronto in the first, 10-6 Toronto in the second, 15-4 Islanders in the third. Final shots, 28-23 for the Islanders. Power plays, Toronto 0 for 2, Islanders 0 for 3. The hits, 20-16 Islanders. Mrazek, 27 saves on 28 shots. That's good. That'll help his numbers. Varlamov, 20 saves on 23 shots. Won't help Varlamov's. So yeah, there you go. 15 save performance in the third by Mrazek, and the Leafs win it. So you get Mrazek a lead, he can do that. All right, next up, Detroit. I would like to thank the Detroit-Nashville game for being relatively without any major events going on. So when this game comes on, there were the other 5 games still on at that time, right? This game was kind of slow, and then when it really picked up was when all the Eastern games were done. So kudos to them for planning it out that way. It's Nedeljkovic versus Saros. There were early chances for the Preds. Leddy had a rush chance that was saved. The Wings get a power play. It's killed off. Predators then press with 6 minutes left. There was a 4-minute penalty on Duchesne with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. And it might be the turning point of this game. So that 2:45 at the end of the period, killed off by the Preds. So you still have that 1:15 left at the start of the second period. That's killed off as well. So that puts Detroit at 1 for 3 at that point, or 0 for 3 at that point. Duchesne has a chance out of the box. That was saved. Granlund steals. His shot was saved as well. 26 minutes into this game, the shots are 11 apiece. So it's kind of a slow back and forth chess match between these two teams. We're kind of waiting for something to happen. The Wings press at the half, and then the Predators get a power play, and they score on it. It's Cousins from Tomasino and Ekholm at 12:46. And then the momentum starts to go. Duchesne scores from Forsberg and Tennyson at 14:21. And then the Predators press for another. They just keep rolling at that point. It's all Preds. They draw another power play. But at the end of it, out of the box, Ernie scores from Bertuzzi and Stahl at 18:51. It's a breakaway goal. You've always got to watch that guy coming out of the box. That's why your goalie is tapping his stick on the ice. Then we get Bertuzzi versus Benning. Pretty good scrap between those two. And we go to the third period with it 2-1 for Nashville, with that goal from Ernie looking like that could be huge. But in the third, early jump for the Wings. They press at 3 minutes. Seider with the net feed that was defended. De Keyser at a blast that was saved. The Wings get a power play, and then we get 4-on-4 for 32 seconds. Predators get a power play after that. It's all killed off. No harm, no foul there. Forsberg, though, would widen the lead from Tennyson and Duchesne at 10:44. And then the Predators, again, it's that momentum. They then try to add another one. With 3:52 left, the Wings pull the goaltender. Sissons misses the empty net goal wide. Duchesne does not miss the empty net. He gets the goal at 18:12. And that makes it 4-1. The Wings, in the final minute, had a power play. That's just for numbers, not much else. And the Predators win this one 4-1. They go to 26-14-3 with the win. Detroit drops to 18-18-6. So Detroit and the Islanders both fall back to 500 with the results tonight. 3 stars in this one: Duchesne, Tennyson, and Ekholm. Shots 9-7 Detroit in the first, 10-7 Nashville in the second, 13-8 Detroit in the third. Final shots 29-25 for Detroit. Power plays 0 for 5 for the Wings, 1 for 3 for the Preds. Hits 34-24 for Nashville. Nedeljkovic 21 saves on 24 shots. Saros saves 28 out of 29 at the other end. So UC Saros picks it up, plays really well tonight, and that's kind of how that works with him. All right, last one on this board before we move on to the last board of the night. Chicago in against Minnesota. Chicago played a great game, and then Minnesota kind of woke themselves up here. So it's Lankinen versus Kakkonen. So be understandable if the announcers at some point mixed up the names. I never saw the announcers in the Minnesota feed mix up the names, but it'd be understandable. Lankinen, Kakkonen, close, right? Lankinen saves a wraparound shot early. Seth Jones fires one wide. Foligno can't bury one. The shots are 4-1 for the Hawks at 5 minutes. Then we get a post for Spurgeon as the Wild press. And then it's Chicago that opens the scoring. It's Borgstrom scoring from Gustafsson at 9:51. Much better start by the Hawks to this game than we saw in last night's game against Minnesota. So clearly they came out determined to play better. And they kind of continued that. So they press with 6.5 minutes left. Kane can't bury one. Kakkonen very busy at this point in the game. There's a power play for the Hawks. They score on it. It's DeBrincat scoring from Seth Jones and Strome at 17:07. And then with 36.7 seconds left, the Wild get a power play, and they score on that as well. Eriksson Ek from Zuccarello and Spurgeon at 19:30. So 30 seconds left in the period, and they score, and it feels like that's huge for the momentum for the Minnesota Wild. Second period, early press by the Wild. Kaprizov can't bury one. Much better start for many than in the first. The Hawks press. Kakkonen makes saves there. Hagel can't bury one. Dumba nearly ties on a net feed. Boldy draws a Wild power play. Eriksson Ek can't tip one in. It's killed. That power play's killed off. Hagel blasts one wide. So Hagel had his opportunities in that second period. Taves then with a chance on a turnover that was saved. The Hawks press at the half. Dewar can't bury one with Lankinen down. That's one of those ones where the cage, it's yawning cage, and he just puts it into the goaltender. The Wild get a power play, but that's killed off. And we go to the third, still with Chicago up 2-1. But Minnesota had a lot of pressure and a lot of chances in the second period. That carries over into the third. Kaprizov with a steal early. He can't bury one. The Hawks were gumming up the neutral zone very well, just making sure there wasn't really a lot of room out there and making Minnesota dump and chase, which, with a team that's as good in transition as Minnesota is, making them dump and chase might be a pretty good plan. So Hartman to Kaprizov, near miss there. The Wild get a power play with 12:26 left. Taves complained enough to make it a 4-minute penalty. And the funny thing was, the announcer said, I can't remember Taves complaining to a referee like this. I can. I've talked about it in previous instances where if he is convinced that he didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not saying that he did, I'm just saying that when he's convinced he didn't do anything wrong, he's very animated as he's going to the box, and I'm kind of surprised that the unsportsmanlike hasn't been thrown at him. I haven't seen it thrown at him before, but yeah, it's 4 minutes there. And at any rate, the Wild couldn't set up until they were a minute and a half into it. Lankinen was a wall for most of that power play, but then Kaprizov scores to tie it from Zuccarello and Spurgeon at 10:45. To the credit of the Chicago Blackhawks, they get the lead back at 3-2. Borgstrom scores from Entwistle at 12:03, and it just trickled through, barely trickles through on Kakinen and goes in. Kane was denied on a break after that. They pulled the goaltender with more than 3 minutes left. Minnesota, with the goalie pulled 6-on-5, is kind of lethal. Fiala scores from Greenway and Goligoski at 17:56. They make it look like it's planned this way. This is what we do. We score with the extra guy. So there you go. We go to the overtime. The Hawks controlled early. Kaprizov steals one from Kane, but then Kane and Kaprizov both take penalties on the play, which now means that they're off the ice for most of the rest of the overtime, because I don't think there was a whistle that would have allowed them to come out of the box, because it's a 3-on-3. If there's coincidental minors, I don't think they come out of the box until there's a whistle, because you don't want it to be 4-on-4, right? The only exception is when it's a 4-on-3 power play and the penalty ends, then it goes 4-on-4 until the whistle. So Seth Jones takes a puck from Fiala. Hawks had a 2-on-1. DeBrincat can't bury it there. Hartman fires one high, I should say. Zuccarello had a shot that was saved. Spurgeon can't bury one either, but then Foligno does. He scores from Goligoski and Greenway at 4:22. The Wild survive a scare at home. They survive being down 2-0. They win it in overtime 4-3. They go to 24-10-3 with the win. Chicago gets the point, but now they're 15-19-7, so halfway through the season exactly, with 41 games and 15 wins. Your 3 stars are Foligno, Spurgeon, and Fiala. If Chicago wins this one in regulation, no doubt in my mind Lankinen would have been one of the 3 stars. The shots are 17-8 Chicago in the first, 20-8 in favor of Minnesota in the second, 14-8 Minnesota in the third. So 34 shots in the second and third period. Both teams had 2 shots in the overtime. Final shots 44-36 Minnesota. It was a pretty high scoring, at least in terms of pace. It looked like the kind of game that could have been 7-5, 6-4. Power plays 1-for-1 for Chicago, 3-for-5 for Minnesota. Hits 19-14 Chicago, relatively light hitting game. Lankinen 40 saves on 44 shots. Kakinen saves 33 out of 36, plays both halves of the back-to-back, and he looked pretty good. So now we need to change boards. Okay, Battle of Alberta, and it lived up to the hype. It did. It lived up to the hype, and the jersey I wear in the previews, it worked. So Markstrom versus Koskinen. Gaudreau was denied early. The shots are 5-3 for the Flames at 4 minutes. They were the sharper team early on. They looked more confident early on. Gaudreau was struck by the puck, skates off. He would stay in the game. Tkachuk gets the opening goal from Lindholm and Hanifin at 8:29. That was on a rebound, and that's 9 straight games where Edmonton's allowed the first goal, and I think it's 15 out of 16 or 16 out of 17, or it's a lot, right? Flames then press for another. There was a power play then for the Flames. There's a shorthanded chance for Sevier during that, and then Nurse has a rush chance right out of the box. So, man, you got to watch that guy coming out of the penalty box. Tanev keeps Draisaitl to the outside. The Flames press with 3.5 minutes left. Monahan draws a power play for the Flames, and they score on it. It's Lucic with his 9th of the year from Hanifin and Anderson at 19:21. So it's 2-0. And then Gaudreau was denied the final 30 seconds. So coming out of the first period, we're probably expecting Draisaitl to be kind of ornery at the next press conference. But second period, things start to turn around. The Oilers press at 3 minutes. Zadorov blocks a McLeod shot. Oilers get a power play. Draisaitl was denied. Bouchard was not. He scores from Draisaitl and McDavid at 5:35. So Tyson Barrie was out. Bouchard on the point. Works pretty well. Flames try to answer, but the Oilers go back to the power play and they score again. It's Bouchard from McDavid and Draisaitl at 9:41. See, all the Oilers need to get out of this slump is just to start scoring on the power play at a 60 to 100% rate, and then they're fine. Lindholm nearly answers that. Tanev takes a shot to the thumb, but he did return because Tanev. That's not gonna do it. Benson that had a shot that was saved, and Perlini gets his 4th goal in 7 games from Ryan and Ceci at 18-19. It gives the Oilers the lead. They come into this period down 2-0. They're up 3-2. Nice rush chance though by Perlini. And then Hanifin answers at 19-16 from Gaudreau and Tkachuk. So it's 3-3 entering the third period. And again, that last-minute goal, you wonder how that'll affect the Oilers. Well, they started the period with a 2-minute power play. So Calgary takes a penalty right at the end of the second period. Toe save on Nurse, it is killed off. Flames nearly score right after that. The Oilers then press at 4 minutes. Tkachuk with a between-the-legs shot that saved. You've seen that one. When it goes in, it's highlight reel. When it doesn't, it's still highlight reel, just not as much as when it's a goal. Flames had a 2-on-1. Lindholm was denied. And then we get a post for Draisaitl, and Foegele fires one wide. But then Draisaitl, he gets it right the next time. He outweights Markstrom. It was a beautiful goal. It was on a stretch pass from Keith. And at 14:29, the Oilers are back in the lead. So yeah, he outweighted Markstrom and gets it in the net. Koskinen then saves and holds on a Hanifin shot. The goaltender gets pulled with about 1:15 left. Calgary calls a timeout with 24.3 left. Whatever they planned on the timeout doesn't work. Draisaitl adds the empty netter just at the 20-minute mark. So I think there was like 0.1 second left on the clock or something like that. There was debate about whether or not it was going to count. So your final score is 5-3 for the Oilers. They go to 19-16-2. Calgary drops to 18-12-6. So while we've talked a lot about the Oilers and how they've been struggling, Calgary has too. So Calgary, they come off that win over Florida, but going into that, there's been some tough times for Calgary as well. So your 3 stars are Bouchard, Draisaitl, and Koskinen. Your shots, 19-13 Calgary in the first, 12-11 Edmonton in the second, and then 17-6 Calgary in the third. Final shots, 47-31 for Calgary. Power plays, the Flames 1 for 2, Edmonton 2 for 3. Hits, 35-30 for Edmonton. Markstrom saves 26 out of 30, and Koskinen, for a goalie that everybody says sucks, he saves 44 out of 47. So his numbers tonight were really good, and we'll see if that changes the narrative at all. I don't know that it does or doesn't, but I'll say this. I'd be very surprised if a coaching change was made after this game. It's happened. Coaches have been fired after wins, but I don't think it happens in this case. I may have just jinxed it. I don't really know. So we shall move on to the last game of the night, which was over early. Tampa Bay, clearly something snapped here, and San Jose was just on the other end of it was just a good old-fashioned whooping. So it's Elliott versus Reimer, and at 3:17 on their second shot, Tampa Bay opens the scoring. Colton scores from McDonough. They will not look back. The Bolts press for more. Point fires one wide. Vlasic had a shot that was blocked. The shots are 4-1 for the Bolts at 7 minutes. And at 7:44, Stamkos adds one from Killorn and Foote. So that's, I believe, his 20th goal of the season right there. And a really strong shift by Tampa leads to the goal. Hurdle then had a rush chance that was denied. The puck goes the other way. And Joseph scores from Stamkos and Sergachev at 11:04. That's not enough. Perry scores from Bellemare and McDonough at 12:32 on a puck that went off of, it was the linesman, right? Or was it the ref? Either way, it was a Tampa bounce. Perry puts it in. Reimer's out. Hill's in. And I'm sure Reimer's like, how was I going to play that off the official? So, yeah. Magna would then score to ruin the shutout from Ryan Merkley at 16:40. That's Ryan Merkley's first NHL assist. Kucherov nearly answers that. So it's 4-1 Tampa after one. And some teams, I worry about them when they have a lead like that. Like, oh, maybe they'll get lazy. I don't worry about Tampa. Sharks had chances in the first minute, but Tampa adds to the lead at 6:24. It's Braden Point from Kucherov and Cirelli. Sharks get a power play. That's killed off. The Bolts press with 7 minutes left. Bellemare with a net feed. That wouldn't go, but it's 5-1 after 2. Third period, Shots are 1-0 for the Bolts at 3 minutes, telling you that, yeah, at this point, San Jose is kind of happy to get the game over with. But as I put right here, this game was over at 3:17 of the first. Once that first goal goes in, I was like, yeah, that's going to finish it, which is good because this game had a lot of tension, and then I could put more attention into that game. So power play for the Bolts. Killorn scores from Hedman and Kucherov at 4:20, and then at 4:53, 33 seconds later, Colton scores from Radish and Sergachev. And then just to add insult to injury, Bonino with one that should have been a goal. Well, the ref blew the whistle, so it didn't count as a goal. So that happened. Bolts get a power play. That's killed off. That was only the second power play they had in the game. So final score is 7-1. Tampa Bay wins this one going away. They go to 28-10-5 with the win. San Jose drops to 21-19-2. And again, you know, as a Canuck fan watching what's going on in the Pacific, I'm perfectly fine with it. It really doesn't bother me. 3 stars are Stamkos, Colton, and Sergachev. Shots are 15-5 Tampa in the first, 10-6 San Jose in the second, 13-10 San Jose in the third. Final shots 31-28 for Tampa. Power plays, Tampa Bay 1 for 2, San Jose 0 for 2. Hits 25-9 for San Jose because they never had the puck. What I watched, they never had the puck, so it makes sense that they out hit them by almost 3-1. Elliott, though, saves 27 out of 28. Lost in all this is that Brian Elliott comes back and he has a good game for them. That's huge. Reimer saves 9 out of 13, and then Hill saved 15 out of 18. It's not on the goaltenders. Tampa Bay was just angry. There was some anger in their game tonight, and that's what happens when Tampa Bay is angry about a previous result. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.